How unhelpful or helpful has the Republican establishment been towards Mr. Paul's candidacy?
Well, I think I would say it's been suboptimal support, if you will. I think he's the only candidate that's really serious about changing the trajectory of the United States and to a government of limited powers, depending upon private enterprise, private acts of charity, getting the government back to how the Constitution envisioned it, not being at all callous, but recognizing that charity through private hands is ordinarily more efficient than charity through FEMA, and also, most importantly, on the national security issue. He's the only one who's hawkish on defending Americans in America. All the others are hawkish on defending Afghans and Yemenis. And this will be a savings of $500 billion to $1 trillion when we actually restore defense to defending the United States rather than playing policeman of the world, which we have no moral or financial capability of doing.
Suboptimal support from the Republican establishment. I would imagine that's a polite way of putting it, Bruce. Tell me, if Ron Paul does not win the Republican nomination, how inclined is he towards a third-party run?
Well, I don't think that there's any decision made until you actually see what the circumstances are. It may well be that at the convention no one arrives with a majority of delegates. You know, there's been an abandonment of the typical winner-take-all approach to delegate selection, and so it's going to be much more fractured with regard to how many delegates show up behind each additional candidate. But what is clear about Mr. Paul that's distinctive of the others, he's not running this as an egomaniac, endeavor. He clearly indicates that it's the ideas that count more than anything else. He's not someone who's there to get a name brand and that'll go sell in the private sector at $50,000 or $100,000 a speech. That makes him unique. And so he will determine, I think, his political decision based upon how he can best further the objective and the ideas that he has, which basically is restoring the United States to honoring rather than sabotaging the Constitution as it was initially ratified and then been amended over the years to make it more relevant and open to all classes and all races and genders, etc.
How do you think he would fare as a third-party candidate? Mr. Paul obviously has some very, very committed supporters and in pretty large numbers. But do you think he would simply act, if he were to run, simply act as a spoiler and effectively hand the White House back to President Obama?
No, I don't. And I think that he gets in the race in whatever circumstances for the ideas. And I think one of the reasons why your polls showed that at present, if you do a face-to-face between Obama and Paul, they're about even Steven, is because candidate Paul, amongst all the other Republicans, is most attractive to the independents, because he rises above, I think, many of the partisan disputes and is in favor of the Constitution. The glory of the Republic is liberty, not dominion. And those things respond to independents who don't view politics as a football game between the red and the blue, and it's a zero-sum game that one party benefits at the expense of the other. You know, everybody should benefit for the success of the United States. The party interest is one that's more marginal, and I think that's why Ron has such an appeal to the independents as well as Republicans who believe the Constitution is our lodestar for moving forward rather than stagnating.
And Bruce, what do you hope and expect to see for Ron Paul in New Hampshire tonight and on to South Carolina in a couple of weeks?
Well, I think that, the polls suggest that Romney has a very strong lead because of his money, his long-term presence there. I think a very, very strong second for Ron Paul, and he well could go to South Carolina and continue to be number 1 or 2 and emerge as a front runner, so to speak, there. He does have a very, very devoted following. There's not a financial pinch at present in his campaign, so he's got an ability to have his voice out there. And I do think that events that unfold as we move towards later primaries are going to be helpful to Ron Paul rather than distracting, because we'll see how much more sense his national security posture makes than others. I mean, basically all those other candidates running for office said, we're going to be bombing and invading Iran as soon as they're inaugurated, because they still have, unfortunately, a quest for nuclear weapons, despite the fact that North Korea has them and Pakistan has them and India has them. No one favors proliferation, but on the other hand, we have to be sensible about the ability of deterrence and mutual incineration to prevent the use of such such weapons and I think the adventurism and the cost of another war that's unlikely to be successful any more than it's been in Iraq or elsewhere.
All right, Bruce Fein, Senior Advisor to Ron Paul's presidential campaign. Thank you very much indeed, Bruce. Great to see you.